to the College Game Day Podcast for Wednesday, August 28th. I am Ryan McGee, and I am doing the show. If you ever watch Marty McGee, you know sometimes I do the show from the Dodge Ram Truck Studios. That's not sponsored by Dodge Ram. I'm actually sitting in my Dodge Ram at the beach before I jet to Gainesville for the weekend.
Authentic, as the kids say. Authentically Southern.
It's for real, Pete. I said this about you guys in Dublin. You know, my favorite part of travel is that you think to yourself, you know, it's not actually like that, right? Like it's all got to be caricatures and, you know, it's all stereotypes. No, I was in Paris in May and our tour guide said, ooh la la, twice. And, you know, you got, that's the greenest field I've ever seen in my life. And it rained torrents. It was Ireland. So yes, truth is truth, man. Speaking of truth, how you doing? You ready to go to, listen, College Station is a phenomenal place to watch a football game, and it is a show palace.
Home of the 12 men, College Station, Texas. Looks like we are set for some football. I can't wait.
I'm fired up. It is a tremendous place when you get there. Getting there is non-linear. I will actually have gotten to Dublin and back faster than I can get to College Station and back. That is not exaggeration. I live in Boston. We were 5 hours and 5 minutes up and down on Ole Aer Lingus. So I'm going to go to Austin and scoot over on Thursday. But no, really looking forward to it. There's nothing better in sports to me than the opening weekend of college football. Especially now when the rosters are just put in blenders and you have no idea what to expect. And one of the takeaways from the Georgia Tech upset at Florida State on Saturday was that we have no idea what's going to happen. Like, it's just a reminder. We spend 8 months and predictions and assumptions get codified into like reality. And then they just all blow up on one, magical long weekend here. And we get it, Thursday night going to Monday. So we just have a buffet of surprises and a buffet of unknowns and breakouts and new guys, and just it's going to be a great run, and we are expecting a large crowd in College Station for the show.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but everything goes bigger in Texas. That's what they remind you. Yeah, and it's and it's the truth that when you drive around, certainly when you drive around Kyle Field, you're right. I love the unpredictability of it. And it's always been that way, but it's now that with a nitrous oxide bottle. Right now, it's just completely out of control. And so, I'm down at the beach squeezing in one last trip with my wife before football and on the road, for the next, 4 months, 5 months. And I've got all the preview magazines, right? Got them all. Got Steel, got Athlon, Lindy's. I got stuff you've never even heard of that they sell at gas stations down here in the Southeast. And as soon as the Florida State game was that loss was posted, I was like, I could throw half these magazines in the shredder right now. Like, we already have no idea what's going on. And it is super, like you say, the beauty of week one is when it's over, when we get to Monday, we get to Tuesday, and the overreaction, even with the expanded college football playoff, doesn't matter. Like, if you lost, oh my God, what the hell are we doing? We don't know what we're doing. Coach is an idiot. If you've won, it's Georgia Tech and Florida State, right? Suddenly Georgia Tech thinks they'll win the national championship. And Florida State, the sky's falling. And even with an expanded playoff, even with a safety net, I don't think that's going to go anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, all right. So you mentioned the main topic of the day. It's the main topic of the week. And it is the Connor Stalions documentary that everyone's talking about that dropped on Netflix. And at an interesting time, the week leading into, Michigan's opener. It is, first of all, congratulations. About 34 minutes in was you standing there doing a stand-up. I was like, there's no way they can do this and not include at least some Pete, because this was your life in the fall of 2023. And I thought about you a lot when I was watching it, not just because of the fact that you were in it, but the fact that you really did live it. Day to day for a long time, for months. And what was your takeaway when you watched the story in front of you that we all know, but maybe learned a little something extra?
Yeah, I mean, look, the way I would say it from the macro, and I'd be curious, as someone who probably wasn't as directly tied to this story, how you just enjoyed it. Like for the common listener who's, an Alabama fan or a Washington fan or an Oklahoma fan or whatever, I don't know like how riveting it will be because I don't think there was anything that was particularly revelatory. If you are a Michigan fan, what was that terrible Jimmy Fallon movie about the Red Sox? Do you remember that movie?
With Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
that movie was generally not very good, but I liked it because I'm a Red Sox fan. Right. I live in Boston.
Right.
So
right.
I was like, oh yeah, Dave Roberts. Woohoo. So if you like Michigan, you are going to like this Netflix documentary. It is red meat, go blue, celebratory there. The reveal and the gist and what has been reported he's been paid to do was the first time we hear from Connor Stalions, and I was generally underwhelmed by that. I found him to be disingenuous, untruthful, and really maybe unself-aware, Ryan. Like that was sort of that. Like the only people who believe that he didn't run an illegal scouting were his parents, who he trotted out there to like back him up. And that just like the whole thing was just like a little bit unseemly once you got into the details. Like there's the entertainment portion of this, and then there's like the fact-based portion of this. And the entertainment portion of it is fine, and it's like well done. It was maybe a little over dramatic. I don't know if we needed to see him in like graffiti lined city streets and in like creative directing on like the rear view mirror of the car, right?
Yeah.
But so I just thought like there was a little bit of like you bring us to this thing, don't pee on our head and tell us it's raining, right?
Yeah.
Like don't and the Barstool guy comes in and basically calls him out on one lie. There's sort of contrasting facts all over the place. So if you're going to present your side of it, like I just thought some of it was presented disingenuously.
Yeah, and the title of the documentary, if anyone was looking for it, is Untold, Sign Stealer. And I'll say this, full disclosure, the director, Micah Brown, is a friend of mine. I mean, I work with Micah. I work with Micah on some E60 projects. He's done 30 for 30s.
So I probably shouldn't have just insulted where he shot those things.
No. What you said was very fair. That's where I was going. I wanted to qualify what I'm about to say. And Micah's been making the media rounds. He's a great guy. The last time I saw Micah was he also oversees the Deion Sanders reality show that ran on Amazon. And so very talented filmmaker. And what was interesting, I mentioned my wife. When I watch these things, I like to watch them with my wife, Erica, who knows about these things from the periphery just because I talk about it all the time.
Sure.
But doesn't know all the X's and O's, literally. Yeah. And so it's interesting to watch her watch a 30 for 30 or watch her watch a feature I've been working on or watch her, watch something. And watching her watch this, what it did do was explain exactly what the violations were, like what the rules were. They did the checklist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the interesting part to me, and this is part of that lack of self-awareness you're talking about, is that Connor Stalions, when he's explaining to us how he did what he did, and him standing in front of a whiteboard and just imitating any hand signal he could possibly think of, and this crazy spreadsheet he did in 2010, I think it was, of every player that was signed somewhere and every player that was drafted and where they were from. It's what my wife said was, it's like watching these Christmas light competition shows we watch, and you're impressed with the organization of these people to a point. And then you start thinking, oh, this person's crazy. And the lack of self-awareness where Connor Stalions is telling us everyone's doing this, everyone's done this. I'm not doing anything anyone else is doing, but let me show you how I'm doing it differently than everyone else. Right? And I could have used just a little bit of remorse. Like, you have one Michigan player that was in the documentary, and there was one sentence where he said, it was frustrating because it felt like this all overshadowed what we were doing on the field. And if you really love Michigan as much as Connor Stalions says he does, and his parents did, and they showed all the great home videos and all that stuff, but if you really love being a Michigan man the way you say you do, an I'm sorry would be nice. Like a real I'm sorry. And there was a little bit of one in there, but just some remorse, the fact that this is still going on. and is not going anywhere anytime soon. And I think this has been an overarching issue with Michigan in this whole thing, which is it becomes us against the world, which is fine. But there has to be some sort of remorse. Like, you know what? Probably shouldn't have done this. And we're going to fix it. Or, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry to the Michigan players for overshadowing what they were doing. I mean, just some sort of remorse. And that's not how it ended at all. It ended with him, really joking.
Yeah. I remember around, mid-fall last year when this was all the furor, talking to a Michigan staff source who said to me, there's part of Connor that's mortified that he's jammed up Michigan like this because he loves Michigan so much. They also said there's a giant part of him that loves being associated with Michigan winning. There's a vanity. The word was vanity.
Right.
He is a guy. It's not surprising he befriended that local reporter, right?
Yep.
Like there's a vanity there that this was sort of his like forever capsule of I was tied to the winning, not I was tied to the bad stuff. Not I got my buddy Jake Costner suspended at Central Michigan. Not I almost cost the whole enterprise by having Jim Harbaugh suspended. But this was the vanity play of look at me. The same way he left the trail of the buying tickets. Shoot, I remember being in a hotel room when we broke the story with his name on it, looking at his Instagram, and I was like, "Is this real life?" It's like a picture of him standing next to Don Brown, picture him, with Chris Part. Like I was like, that's again like the lack of self-awareness part of it, right? Like there was also a little bit of you had this intricate system, but don't tell me that you think you're smarter than everyone and read signals better than everyone when there's a notice of allegations that says you illegally scouted 50-something games, right? Like that's if you have that information, you are going to be ahead of it. So like there's a intellectual disassociation with I'm so good at this, here's my system, when you don't acknowledge what was the root of your system that anyone in football would tell you gives you the advantage. So there was just like selective facts and selective godifying that were just, my eyes rolled a bunch of times in it. I thought Stuart Mandel had a good column on The Athletic. He was just like, somehow Connor Stalions tried to make himself out to be a victim in this, trot his parents out and his buddy from the military. So they feel bad. And, so people kind of feel bad for him. And it's like, no, like this, it was pretty straightforward. You ran an illegal cheating scheme. You got caught. You put a $100 million enterprise in jeopardy. It worked out for them, which is great and celebrated. But yeah, there was just there could have been more self-awareness in him and in him putting it together. Like going to the games, like there's nothing smart about that. Like going to the game with a face mask on. And that was one of the big reveals is he saw the linebacker Barrett on the field and everything. But that just shows to me how desperate he wanted to be tied to it and involved with it.
Yep. I took a picture of him during the post-game celebration. I was standing on the field in Houston, and I turned, and all of our smartphones they don't have the greatest zoom lenses on them, and I zoomed in as much as I could, and I took a picture that I could have sworn was him in a luxury box, and I tweeted it. And at that point, no one cared because national championship's over, and at that point, the fatigue had set in with the actual case, but. I grabbed my phone and started scrolling through it because there he was wearing that 1997 Michigan Champions t-shirt that I saw him wearing that night. And I watched him that night. The celebration was happening on the far half of the field. I just stood there and watched him. And he was acting. He was. I mean, and you see it in the film. I mean, and Michael's right behind him. This was the first night that he actually shot anything. And he changed seats during the game. He went from I bought a ticket and I'm sitting in the stands to he ended the game in the damn luxury box. And if you watch the film, he goes back and forth. And to me, that's kind of sums it up. And I can hear the Michigan people right now. I understand you think we're all out to get you, but the reality is it is what it is. And you can't walk us through all of this stuff and say this is what everyone else is doing. But what I was doing was this, and what I was doing was better, but just a lack of remorse. That was the part of it. And trying to frame yourself up as the victim when, I don't think anybody feels sorry for Jim Harbaugh in this thing, but he's the one who was suspended. And he's the one that had to answer the questions every day. And the players had to answer the questions at the Rose Bowl Media Day and Big Ten Championship Media Day. And everything they did, even that post game I'm talking about in Houston, they're all being asked questions about Connor Stalions and stealing signs. And to not just say, I'm so sorry, we'll see where this goes. But I'm so sorry that y'all had to deal with this. I just, that part of it, I was surprised there wasn't at least 1% of that.
Do you think 20 years from now, when people think back to this Michigan title, they think more of Blake Corum and J.J. McCarthy or Connor Stalions?
I call it the Barry Switzer rule, right? When Barry Switzer was winning in Oklahoma, and we're all hearing the stories about gun shootouts in the dorm, and and everybody's drunk all the time and steroids, and oh my God, everything's going to hell in a handbasket. Jimmy Johnson in Miami, right? It was, oh my God, it's ruined. But as the years go on, the U becomes cool. And, the Sooners become, those are the good old days. And so what you remember are the games. And so I think as time goes on, we will remember it. Those of us who live. And again, going back to my wife, she's like, really outside of y'all's bubble, this isn't that big of a deal. I go, no, it's not. And I wrote that in a column last fall when I said Michigan should embrace this Darth Vader role, because in the grand scheme of things, no one went to prison, no one was injured, no one stole any money, none of that. But in our bubble, we will remember it. But I to answer your question, I think through the rearview mirror of time, it'll be. No,
I think
unless they take the ring away, right?
Yeah, if only because it was so intertwined with their season, right?
Right.
Because of the suspension, because of that, it was basically half their season. He loomed over it. Now it was a brilliant team. There's no denying that. Right. They had a defiant identity, great players, great quarterback, great tailback. I mean, they were an excellent college football team who, showed those final games through with this whole storm cloud over them that they can go win on the field. But it almost feels like a little too quick for this. Does that make sense, Ryan?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's way too quick. The investigation's still ongoing.
Yeah.
They're about to kick off.
How about seeing the infractions meeting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. And there was some laughter, right? When the attorney came back with, well, I think this is what the real thing is. And it was literal laughter out of Indianapolis. It's like, well, we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with this. Yeah. We'll deal with that later. And, but yeah,
it's definitely against NCAA confidentiality rules. Now, I think the one thing that's pretty certain after seeing the notice draft is that Connor Stalions is going to get hammered in this. And again, it's like Jim Harbaugh getting hammered for the lying in the misleading investigators in the illegal recruiting case. Doesn't matter, right? It's whatever the joke Tom Mars had. It'd be like, having to serve detention at Cathedral High School. Like it doesn't do a whole lot right now.
Well, it's just, but there is also an impact, and who knows what the NCAA will be going forward. Who knows? Lawyers, as you know, have a very good record versus the NCAA.
Yes, they do.
I'm sitting in the state of North Carolina, which to me is the case that really kind of hinged a lot of that. Right?
I agree.
Everyone's like, all right, we'll just bog them down in court until they can't handle it anymore. But that being said, if we're talking about a regular run-of-the-mill NCAA investigation, the rule was always, and still, as long as the NCAA is there, don't let them on campus. Because if you do, don't give them an excuse to come to campus because they're going to find something.
Yes.
And the other part is be nice.
Yeah.
You better cooperate. It's the Tennessee rule, right? How did Tennessee come away sort of okay after the Jeremy Pruitt McDonald's bag mess, right? Well, they were very nice, and we're sorry. We had no idea, and Michigan's hasn't done any of that. Certainly the key players haven't, and that's why I'm glad Jim Harbaugh's not going to be there, because as soon as that was announced, you're going to go to the game on Saturday to be honored, and as soon as that was initially announced, I'm like, this is the biggest thumbing of the nose. Dropping this documentary the week leading into week one of you defending a national championship, to me, it's disrespectful. It's the complete and it is the anti-apology, and so it's just
I'm going to financially leverage the embers of my alleged fame while I'm hot right now.
Yeah, and do it now.
5 years from now, nobody's going to care. I'm very curious how much they paid him. Because I mean, he had to sit through you could just see him smirking, right? Like that was, when he had to answer like the straight questions. And then I thought it was funny when the guy from Barstool dimes him out on the Central Michigan thing to go against the, we all know it was him on the sideline. There wouldn't be this...
I don't think it. And to me, that moment sums it up. Him holding the picture, looking at the picture of himself. Yeah. I don't think it looks like me, and smirks. And it's like, anyhow, but the payment, officially, he was not paid to make the film. Yeah. But he was compensated for the footage that he provided. And what that reminded me of was when I was a student at University of Tennessee, years ago, worked on the Johnny Majors show. Mm-hmm. And the University of Tennessee made a really big deal out of the fact that Johnny Majors, his salary was only like $150,000.
Yeah.
Well, he got paid, I think, $500,000 to host the Johnny Majors show. Right. Yeah. So the money's going to get there one way or the other. But it's it just was.
If he didn't get a lot of money, he's really not very bright, right? Because he was a central figure in American pop culture for that long, and this aura of mystery. It would be stunning if there was no real money to change hands. Again, you could cast it how you want, the vehicle of payment, like you said, but there is clearly. I don't think he would have trotted himself out for that if there wasn't anything. And look, like this might be his last chance to cash in. Now, again, guy's military background, he's a high school coach now. I don't think the highest levels of football are really going to be a part of him, because you talk about like distraction, if you hire him, like and what that brings. And I would think that the NCAA, especially because he just thumbed their noses to them by, breaking the confidentiality rules in this, I don't think they're going to let him coach college football, at least at the NCAA level, for a very long time. That is, again, I'm predicting the Committee on Infractions, which is a Star Wars bar room of people from varied backgrounds and stuff. So yeah, nice. I'm using your vernacular.
Appreciate that reference. Yeah, I appreciate you taking us to the canteen. Yeah. No, but there you go. But that part of it is just it felt like someone, like you say, trying to extend what they have rolling right. And it felt like someone presenting their resume. I do all these things, maybe I could help your group too. And, the NFL doesn't care. If somebody wants to hire him, they will. But it just was, I could have used just a little bit of, I'm sorry. And instead I felt, every time I felt like I was going to get that, I got a smirk. And I don't think, and that plays very well. We're talking about living in bubbles. That plays very well in the Michigan bubble.
Sure.
But outside of the Michigan bubble, and maybe he just didn't care about that. I think the reaction has been pretty strong. So as it has been with him all along, as you know, sitting in hotel rooms, sifting through Instagram accounts.
There's it is definitely a memorable story. Our friend Dan Wetzel from Yahoo's featured in there. His great line was, he calls them content stallions.
Yes,
because it is undeniable the amount of content Connor Stalions has yielded.
That was when he said that, I was like, I looked at my wife and I go, that is the most that guy line that you're ever going to hear. Yes. So, yes. which is why we love him. So, but it's worth a watch if you're a college football fan. And if you want to do something before games start, or you want to do something in the middle of the week when there aren't any games going on, but it's, but the most people I've talked to have this opinion. That includes some Michigan folks. So we'll see going forward. Are you getting fired up, man? When do you leave to go to College Station?
So I'm gonna leave first thing Thursday, jumping through Austin, and then hauling over. I mean, I can't wait, man. I am fired up. We've got some fun elements in the show. I can't give too much away, but we're gonna be in our bag on Saturday morning. We got some really fun stuff. I spent some time with Riley Leonard a couple weeks ago in South Bend, so we got a feature on him. He's obviously one of the central figures in that game. And there's some really cool stuff. And I don't know if there is a more quintessentially collegiate environment than A&M, right? You got the yell, you got the swing and press box, you've got, what Mike Leach would call the pirate stuff. They have all these quirky little, everyone has their quirky traditions, but they seem more overt at A&M. So
there's so many. There's so E. King Gill, the statue of him, who never played, by the way. When you know that, the statue changes. Like it goes from, I grew up thinking E. King Gill, the 12th man, ran in and won the Cotton Bowl. Yeah. The reality is he just stood there and held his helmet, which is a great story. And then there's the Reveille Cemetery. And all the Lady Reveillees are buried in the cemetery right outside the stadium, and all their headstones are slanted toward the stadium, toward Kyle Field, so they can watch the game. And then, Pete, when they
that's die hard,
dude, when they enclosed the stadium, people complain. Well, the Lady Reveillees, the passed on Lady Reveillees, they can't watch the games, so they installed, no lie, an electronic scoreboard, which sits on this little berm with all these headstones for all these little dogs right outside Kyle Field. So, if you think that's cute, go check it out. If you think it's very pet cemetery, go check it out too. But it's certainly unique to College Station, Texas.
Amen.
The thing, by the way, we'll be going to Gainesville for Marty McGee at SEC Nation. We're going to have Billy Napier is going to join us on Marty McGee.
Awesome.
Probably about 9:15.
Former Furman quarterback.
Former Furman quarterback. Billy Napier, I always introduce him as the third greatest Furman quarterback ever, and it always makes him mad. But Frankie DeBus won a national championship, and Bobby Lamb set records. But Billy's the man, and I love Billy. I want Billy to succeed. It's going to be tough, but there's a lot of reasons to love Billy. But
Billy's a good human. Yeah.
First and foremost, cuts his own hair, which you can tell just looking at him. He said, "Why would I waste time going to get a haircut?" Literally, just cuts his own hair with the clippers, like in the bathroom.
An efficiency.
Yeah.
Most of these facilities have like barbershops, by the way. I bet he could take 10 minutes to walk downstairs and,
Yeah, you would think so. I have a quick question for you before we wrap this up. I have a column, a piece that'll drop on ESPN.com second half of the week. And I asked the question, who is the face of college football now that Nick Saban is gone? And I kind of go through some coaches, and I asked Dabo Swinney, I asked Kirby Smart, I asked Dan Lanning, I asked a lot, and then also players. Shedeur Sanders' name kept coming up. Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC's name kept coming up. The kid at Miami who's in his 9th year of college football, Cam McCormick, his name came up just because he's the face of the pandemic. If you had to pick one, not to put you on the spot, but I am. If you had to pick a face of college football or a potential face of college football going forward, now that Nick Saban is with you guys, in Nick Saban's words, it needs to be someone in the arena. So
I would pick Kirby Smart.
Yeah,
I think. Look, Dabo has obviously the 2 titles, right? But I just feel like Kirby Smart has the most consistently best. He's had the best and most consistent production in the last 5 years. So. And like he's a die-in-the-wool college guy, right? Like that's just who he is. He's die-in-the-wool Georgia guy. He's done an unbelievable job pushing that program forward and building it to where it is. I just think if I had to pick one, I'd go with Kirby.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Who's yours?
I kind of land on the potential of Dan Lanning because
he's good, man.
Well, Kirby said, I don't want that job. That's Nick's job. And then Dabo was like, well, I'm kind of backing up a little bit from making the big, broad statements. But they all agreed they want to help. And Greg Sankey said, no, this should go to a coach. But I kept landing on Lanning because he hasn't won a national championship yet. But he's only 38. He certainly seems to be that guy going forward. But when I asked Dan, do you want that job? He was like, no. I think it had 3 exclamation points. He said it should be Kirby or for entertainment purposes, Lane Kiffin. And I was like, I ain't thought about Lane Kiffin. So
that would be interesting. We're in the content business. Lane Kiffin gives us some content. So.
The look on your face, though, when I said that, it was like you at Texas A&M standing in the heat on Saturday.
I need to know if you've heard from the Grammys yet for your musical debut. With the college football, we didn't start the fire. Lit the internet up. How did that come together? And are you going to be the Southern Eminem?
I would say I'm already the Southern Eminem.
Okay.
Marty and McGee, I would say, is Eminem, right? That's Southern Eminem. But
those are 2. Yeah.
So great producer at ESPN, Andrew Helpin, approached me a few weeks ago. We have an idea. I'm like, hey man, I don't know. And I go, and I talked to my wife, and my wife is actually a singer. She's a performer.
Oh, wow.
Like when I met her in college at Tennessee, she was a singer at Dollywood. Now she writes musicals and she travels. She's headed out this fall to go sing. And so I go to her and she's like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, well, they got the auto tune and, they tell me they're going to put the auto tune on it to be great, like they do with everybody. They make anybody sound good. There's no auto tune on there. I watched, the first time I saw it was on television, and I texted the producer. I go, looks great job. You didn't put any auto-tune on it. Oh, we didn't think we needed it. I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, but you should have seen, Pete, me in my basement, which is where I do all of my VOs for game day and everything else. Me down there singing my face off, and my wife, the actual singer. Like, what in the hell is going on down there? But I appreciate it. And cartoon Ryan is much more attractive than actual Ryan. So I appreciate it.
You look pretty cool as a cartoon. I hope if I ever have a cartoon version of me that I get the same person. That was a flattering cartoon.
I appreciate. Well, the one that ran during the summer was a preview of the series of the season, and it featured me on the beach. And a guy walked up to me on the beach back in July and said, "Hey man, I just saw cartoon you on the beach." And he goes, "It looked exactly like this." I'm like, "Awesome. Well, good, because cartoon me is in way better shape than I am."
College football fans, are you ready? Dabble, Sweeney, Ryan Day, Jim Harbaugh to LA, Sharon Moore, Coach DeBoer, Garrett Nussmeier, Connor Wegman, Travis Hunter, Kai Kroger, Gamecock punter, 12th man, Sooner Schooner, champions today.
Poor Kai Kroger had to be ID'd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably for rhyming, but
well, what you
how
learn,
long did it take you to write that?
Well, it took, so that's obviously that's we didn't start to fire Billy Joel, and which, by the way, Billy Joel's people had to greenlight this thing.
How about that? And
they actually sent like an edited version of the actual audio track, whereas when I recorded what we call the scratch track, the rehearsal, that was on like just a karaoke deal, like that was just and so then it didn't match up. But yeah, but the enunciation isn't my strong suit anyway, Pete. That comes with the Southern gig, and now I got to pronounce those things at a high rate of speed, and had to explain. I wrote about half of it. Producers wrote about half of it. I had to tell them, guys, if there's 7 syllables, you can't write 14 syllables. It doesn't fit. Like we can't. If there's 2 syllables, it can't be a 7-syllable name. So
we didn't get an Uyunglele, huh?
No, you did not. You're probably not gonna get that from me anyway. But yeah, we definitely did not.
DJU. That you can rhyme a lot with you. There's a long centuries of American songwriting where you rhyme with you. So
there is a Nico in there, but but we stopped at Nico because I certainly was not gonna sing it. So
yeah,
but yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up. Yeah,
no,
so
good.
Call the sports Emmys, call the Grammys. I mean, call them all. So
yeah,
I don't know what the animation awards are. Call them all. Andrew Helpin, thank you. But hey, listen, have a great trip.
Yeah, enjoy Satchel's, Gainesville staple. Good salads, good pizza. No one believes there's good pizza in Gainesville. They're wrong. It's excellent.
No, Friday I will be there. Reese Davis probably doesn't believe that because he thinks pizza is only made in New Haven, Connecticut. so yeah, but I'll go there. All right. Appreciate it, man. And we'll be back into the week for our pick show with Stanford Steve, and be my picks debut. So I look forward to steering everyone's money the wrong way. Thanks, man.
Cheers, bud.
This has been the College Game Day Podcast. Please download the podcast wherever you prefer to get your podcasts, or better yet, subscribe so you never miss a single episode.